The alarm was already on. The building was already unsafe. People could feel it in the air and the floor, in the way every face in the room suddenly went quiet, but nobody moved. Because the speaker said, "Remain where you are." And that was enough, not because they were stupid, not because they didn't understand danger. They understood one thing even better. Rules, in some catastrophes, panic is not what kills people. Order does. A door stays locked because the protocol says so. A warning waits for a supervisor's approval. A clerk keeps filling out a form while the building stops behaving like a building. From the outside, it looks calm. No screaming crowd. No movie panic. Just people waiting for permission to save themselves. That is systemic paralysis. The moment when a rule stops being a safety net and becomes a trap. Think about the last time a fire alarm went off in a hotel, an office, a school. Be honest, did you run? Probably not. You looked around. Maybe you checked your phone. Maybe you listened for a second alarm. Maybe you thought it's probably a drill. That tiny pause feels harmless. But in real emergencies, that pause is where the system gets inside your skull. Your brain hates uncertainty, so it reaches for the nearest stable thing. A sign, a uniform. A rule, a voice that sounds official. The voice says, "Do not evacuate." Your body may obey before your mind finishes arguing, because danger is abstract for a few more seconds. But authority is not abstract. Authority has a face. A badge, a job title. A punishment attached to it. For operators, dispatchers, guards, nurses, and pilots, this pressure is worse. They are trained to follow procedure. Then, one day, the procedure no longer matches reality. And the brain does not instantly upgrade. It locks in. Now put one person in a control room, cold lights, cheap carpet, half-empty coffee, a monitor blinking red in the corner. One alarm becomes three. Three become a wall of noise. The phone starts ringing. Someone asks for confirmation. Someone else wants a report. A supervisor is not answering. The mouth goes dry. The neck stiffens, and the person at the desk is not thinking like a hero in a film. He is thinking, what am I allowed to do? What if I'm wrong? What if this is a false alarm? Who has to approve this? That is how an emergency can become paperwork with casualties. There is a term for one part of this: cognitive tunneling. Under heavy stress, attention narrows. The brain stops scanning the whole room and starts clinging to one task, one screen, one instruction. You do not see the full picture anymore. You see the next required step. Click this, call that person. Wait for confirmation, repeat the script. The prefrontal cortex can start losing efficiency under acute stress. That's the part of the brain that compares options and says, hold on. This is insane. When that system gets overloaded, the older alarm circuits get louder. The amygdala does not care about your organizational chart. But in a bureaucratic environment, survival has been quietly redefined, not as get out, as do not violate the chain of command. That is why fear of hierarchy can overpower the instinct to escape. Not forever, just long enough. But the real trap is not the alarm, it is permission. On April 16, 2014, the South Korean ferry Sewol began to sink. Many passengers were students. They were not trained for maritime emergencies. They were inside a system that sounded official. And it told them what to do. Announcements instructed passengers to stay where they were. Stay put. For a child inside a tilting ferry, that command had weight. Adults had always told them that safety means listening. School teaches it. Parents teach it, ships teach it. So they waited, and waiting became lethal. The passengers did exactly what civilized people are trained to do inside a controlled environment. They trusted the system. Even as the physical world was screaming that the system was wrong. Imagine being there. The floor is no longer level. Someone's bag slides across the room. A phone falls. You hear nervous laughter, then silence. Your stomach knows something is deeply wrong, but then the announcement comes again. Do not move. Your eyes say leave. The speaker says, stay. Your body is trapped between reality and permission. That gap is where people can die. The same trap can appear in nuclear plants, hospitals, and aircraft cockpits. At 3 Mile Island in 1979, operators were not staring directly into a reactor. They were staring at instruments, a confusing model of a machine failing in the physical world. If the panel lies, the operator hesitates. If the checklist points the wrong way, the hands follow the checklist. That is not stupidity, that is design pressure. And after enough repetition, something poisonous happens. A warning appears. Nothing bad happens. The warning appears again. Still nothing. Soon, the warning becomes part of the wallpaper. This is normalization of deviance. If a system survives yesterday's warning, it may treat tomorrow's warning as acceptable. Not safe, acceptable. Safety asks, could this kill us? Bureaucracy asks, can we justify continuing? This is why the low-ranking person inside a hierarchy faces a private nightmare. They may see the danger first, but they are also the least protected if they act. A junior technician, a dispatcher, a guard at a locked gate. They are close enough to smell the smoke, but not high enough to rewrite the protocol. That steep difference in power has a name: authority gradient. In aviation, this is treated seriously because cockpit hierarchies have helped turn small errors into disasters. A co-pilot notices something. The captain dismisses it. The junior voice softens. The challenge becomes a suggestion. The suggestion becomes silence. A steep authority gradient turns information into obedience. And obedience is quiet. That quiet is dangerous. Now add chronic stress. Not one terrifying moment. Not one alarm. Months of overload before the alarm ever rings. Emergency call takers and social service specialists absorb panic as part of the job. One call after another. One complaint after another. One impossible case. The body keeps score long before the official incident begins. Psychologists use tools like the PSM-25, the psychological stress measure, to quantify this kind of internal load. 25 items. A small, imperfect window into a nervous system running too hot for too long. And when that stress load is high, the mind does not become more flexible. It becomes more mechanical. It wants the script, because the script is a shelter. I followed procedure is not just a legal defense. It is an emotional sedative. It tells the frightened worker, you are safe from blame, even if nobody is safe from the fire. That is the hidden engine of systemic paralysis. The emergency is not born in the final seconds. It is assembled earlier, in training rooms where people are told never to improvise, in offices where initiative is punished as arrogance, in reports where near misses are softened until they sound harmless, in meetings where everyone knows the protocol is broken, but nobody wants their name attached to the complaint. Then the emergency arrives. And suddenly the organization wants courage. Too late. You cannot spend years producing obedient workers, then demand independent thinkers at the exact second the ceiling starts to collapse. The brain does not work that way. Under stress, people fall back to the deepest pattern. For some, that pattern is action. For many, it is waiting. Waiting for a manager, waiting for a command. Waiting for confirmation that the thing they already see is officially real. This is the cruelest line in the whole story. A rule can be correct for 99 normal days, and fatal on the one day that matters. That does not mean rules are useless. Rules keep aircraft apart. Rules keep hospitals functioning. Rules keep nuclear plants from becoming guesses and prayers. But a rule is a map. And if the map says there is a hallway in front of you, while your eyes show you a wall of smoke, believe the smoke. The antidote is not chaos. The antidote is trained permission to challenge. A culture where the junior voice can say, "Stop." A system where a clerk can unlock the door without fearing punishment later. A control room where the operator is trained to ask, "What if the instrument is misleading me?" A ferry, a plane, a hospital, a school where follow instructions is not treated as a religion, because the last instruction may be wrong. And your body may know it before the system admits it. So ask yourself this, and do not answer like a movie hero. Answer like a real person. You are in a building. The alarm sounds. The announcement tells you to stay where you are. The people around you obey. The staff look uncertain. The air smells wrong. Do you move? Or do you wait for permission? Write your answer below. And if this kind of analysis is why you clicked, subscribe. Because the scariest failures are not always loud. Sometimes they speak in a calm voice. Sometimes they wear a badge. Sometimes they are printed, laminated, and followed exactly.